I'm really proud to say, not in some bragging way, but I feel peace in my life. I feel a sense of peace, and it's not something that I had the first 4 years of sales. And I believe I attribute that to finding a level of faith in God. I don't really care what that looks like for you, whether religion or formal or not, but genuinely cultivating that relationship. And what that looks like for me is I realized that I was so addicted to like my phone and to tech and reactive and
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort, stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds, sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up with the words.
Guys, I did something crazy today. I sat down and I added up exactly how much money I've spent over the last four years on personal development and coaching, and it was shocking. It was $121,000 on coaching and personal development. And I've chased it all: leadership, sales, healing, relationships, performance, and even copious amounts of mushrooms. And after all of that, here are the 4 most brutal, unexpected lessons I walked away with. And these aren't like surface level, right? These are the ones that hit hard, and they changed how I operate forever. And my hope and intention here is that they can help shift even just one thing to shift how you operate forever so that you can go out there and absolutely crush it. Now, you're probably wondering, where did all that cash go? $121,000. Well, let's run through it really quick for you. $3,500 ALA in San Diego, $8K Alexander Riker, my first sales coach, $5K Emily Freeman dating coach, $20K NEPQ Jeremy Miner, $18K Bill Walsh objection box, $5,000 to go do a bunch of mushrooms in the jungle in Costa Rica, $15,000 for network spinal with Dr. Allen, which was epic. $12K for high performance coaching with Steve Coops, $15K for relationship coaching, YouTube coaching, just business coaching with Joey Wilder, $3K for energy coaching with Charles Clay, $333 for dopamine detox with Soleil Rad so I could learn about semen retention. That was wild. And $13,000 for the Masters of Fate mastermind. And also just $4,000 on a functional nutrition doc, because why not? With that in mind, who is this for, right? If you're a sales rep, entrepreneur, or you're just deep into this like self-help rabbit hole, then this is definitely for you. If you're obsessed with growth, but secretly frustrated that you're not further along, keep watching. At the end, I believe these 4 tips will genuinely support you. On the flip side, if you're looking for anything short-term, next tactic, next guru, next dopamine hit, I would just hop off, because this is going to sting and it's not going to be what you want to hear. I'm not here to coddle you. I'm here to tell you the truth, tell you what I've learned and what I wish I would have learned earlier that would have caused me to lose less money and to be more abundant, but more importantly, to have more peace. So if that resonates, keep watching and let's see this one through. Number 1 is shiny object syndrome. Literally, shiny object syndrome kills more dreams than failure every single day. And I am, luckily I'm persistent and luckily I pushed through this. But the reason this is number 1 is because shiny object syndrome has been and was, I like to say was, no longer the biggest challenge that I had in the high ticket sales game. And back in 2021, I was top rep for 2 years straight on an offer. The fact that I was on an offer for 2 years straight in and of itself is unheard of, right? Not only that, I had the best leads, best leadership, best company, proven offer, and paid trips, had all the respect, all the authority, all the credibility. This team all loved me. And then I left. Why? Why did I leave? Because I heard another rep was making more. That's why I left. I heard another rep was making more. And I decided that if I wanted more growth, that I needed to go somewhere else. I was so wrong. I decided that if I wanted more growth, this was the most perfect example of self-sabotage, guys. Literally everything's going right. And you're like, hey, I just want to make a little bit more. For what? I didn't need more money. I was making $20,000 a month as a single dude in San Diego. Like, I don't need more. But I heard another rep was making more. And that decision cost me a ton, guys. And so I would encourage you to reflect on, are you chasing more or are you chasing getting closer to what you want? Because more does not always mean that you're getting closer to what you want. And so get crystal clear on that, because here's what happened, guys. I made that decision. I got poached. I followed a recruiter. I moved over to Sales Sniper, and it was not ideal. I went from a stacked calendar, being the top rep, working 4 days a week, making 20 G's a month, to self-setting, fully white calendar, making less money, no authority, no credibility in this next company. And all of that work was gone like that in a single decision. And to make it even worse, There were reps that I had outworked, I'd outperformed while I was there the 2 years, and I watched them freaking make bank. Because there's all these new offers that they released that were higher price points. The marketing continued to expand. Like literally everything was spiraling upward for that company. And I just had to see it from the sideline, watching people who I knew I was better than. Like, it's just crazy, right? And I see this with sales training too. Like, people bounce from mentor to mentor. They stack a shit ton of scripts, and they stack a bunch of objection handling and mindsets. And ultimately, they actually get less effective, right? They end up in a position where they're overthinking, right? So if you can, please just stop with the shiny object syndrome, right? Because that, you don't see the full details. Like, you just don't know the full context when you see a screenshot of someone making more money. There's so much more beyond that I would encourage you to look into. And when it comes to mentors for sales training, find one that you resonate with and go all in. Stop jumping around from Jeremy to Bill to Cole to Eli to just for the first year or two, just pick one, pick a group, go all in. Because it's like the grass is always going to look greener and there's always something new to know. But like, to be good at sales, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know enough and then get really good at what you already have and get reps. By the way, please stop ghosting offers as well, guys. Like, that's shiny object syndrome. I'm not saying that if you get on an offer, you can't just quit. I have. But give it an honest shot as long as people are genuinely showing up, because oftentimes you're burning bridges, right? You're nuking them, and it's just trouble. That's lesson number 1. Let's move on to lesson number 2. As you guys are investing in yourselves, you're investing in the program. The real ROI is not from the skill sets. Don't get me wrong, they help, but the real ROI comes from, in the long term. Key theme of this whole dialogue, you and I right now, is around the long term. The ROI is going to come from relationships, not the info. Straight up, the sales skills you need are on YouTube, or you could go to like Christian Jack and pay $178 a month and get enough. You could, like join all these like low ticket groups now these days, and literally all of it's available. But the reason I invest in these higher tickets is because it is a barrier to entry, and the people in those higher ticket programs tend to be able to invest in themselves. 2, they're high quality. 3, they've probably invested in themselves over the last 4 or 5 years, and their network is massive, right? As an example, one relationship that I got was with Savannah, who used to work with Cole Gordon's team. And that relationship alone, back when I started back in like 2020, I really added a ton of value to her by sending her referrals. This was before Closers.io had become huge. I sent her tons of referrals for closers, and she sent me incredible offers. The one I got with Taylor Conroy, the one I got with Sarah Turner, both of those were $20K per month offers. She got me on them. She got me the interview. And that one relationship was worth $300,000 to me. And I guarantee there will be something in the future, some way I connect with her, some way she connects with me, or someone in her network, and we can continue to support each other. Another incredible investment, Masters of Fate Mastermind. I didn't even know what I was buying. That was like 10 G's. My buddy Larry sold me into it. But it led to, long-term, it led to me partnering with Andrew Cruzy. We're building a sales team right now. I'm selling from stages with him at Tribe of Buyers live events. I never expected to do that. We literally revived a brand from a few years ago. And I'm just saying that to say it's wild what you guys can get into if you just think long-term and you focus on these relationships. Because I believe most reps will dive into the info, they'll study up, but they never stay in touch with the people. They never go deep with people. They never actually look at the people who are in that program and say, how can I add value? How can I help them first and be a giver, without just looking at how I can take and extract from those communities? Because that's how you store equity, right? You can have a bank account, you can have investments, and those are measurable. But one of the biggest forms of your net worth that's hidden potential is in the equity that you store in your relationships. The good that you've done, not because you're doing it to try to take later, but just because naturally the way the world works is when you are a giver, it will come through to you, and it will come through in some other way, whether it's through them or a conduit of some other person, right? So just be a giver. And by the way, side note, if you have not read the book, The Go Giver, you could just pop an Adderall, freaking rip it for 4 hours or less and have that done. Do it. Super, super solid win. I'll put that link in this description as well. Now, lesson number 3 about sales. Super cheesy, and you've probably heard it, but sometimes we need to be told again more than we need to be taught. We just need to be reminded. And sales is about who are you being, not what are you doing. Literally, you can have the best script, and if you don't believe in it, and you don't believe in the prospect, and you don't believe in yourself, that's going to come across in your tone. It's going to come across in your sub-communication, right? When I look back at those 2 years when I was with Thought Leader and I was their top rep, when I went over and I worked at 7th level and I hit number 2 on the leaderboard my first month, those things, those offers, the reason I performed so well, yes, there is some sales skill, but it came from alignment, right? Sales is a transfer of belief, and that belief has to start with who? It has to start with you, right? So I've literally, I've seen reps with basic skills outperform people who are technical, and I was that rep with basic skills who outperformed. Like when I started back at Thought Leader back in 2021, the very first month, it was like my first month on a real high ticket sales role. And I absolutely crushed because I believed in the offer. I believed in myself. I had just invested in myself my first time. And that conviction poured over into every conversation. Like literally when people, I was telling, not selling because I didn't know, but it worked because my conviction was so strong. And people just felt that my intent was perceived. I remember being on a call with a woman and telling her, if I let you off the phone right now, it would absolutely be a disservice. Go like grab your card. It was a command. I literally was like, grab your card. We're doing this. And she was like, you're right. So that level of conviction comes from being in alignment with yourself, guys. So definitely dial that in if you haven't already. Look at who you're being, and it is going to show up in your calls. Now, I saved the best lesson, number 4, for last. And some of you guys might think this is crazy. Some of you might feel like, no way, this is woo-woo, this is out there. But I believe that the freedom you guys are actually looking for, the feeling that you're genuinely after in sales, that feeling of being successful, of being enough, of being lit up. I feel like that, because let me give you context before I tell you the lesson. I was making 20K plus months and I was miserable, right? Every win felt temporary. Every loss felt permanent. And it was success without peace. And I believe that's just a fancier form of suffering. Meaning, yes, you get to a higher financial state, but you still don't have the emotional freedom. You know, it's like, I'll put it this way. You will know you've become truly rich, not when you hit a number, but when you feel peace, joy, and happiness regardless of the number, right? The question I would ask is, are you flowing through life, learning, growing, just like creating from a place of passion, or are you grinding just to hit some metric to finally feel worthy, chasing validation that never sticks? Your identity, like it just can't be tied to sales numbers, guys. You'll spiral every time things dip. And for me, the lesson was tapping into God. And that relationship is still something that is forming, and sharing that with you guys is vulnerable here. But I see now through that lens of faith that a big part of the reason why I struggled with feeling enough, having the emotional highs and lows, is because if you looked at my values, God was way down here and money was at the top. My identity, my sense of self-worth was tied to how much I made that day, that week, that month, right? And the irony of all this, guys, is that sales is meant to give you freedom. It's meant to give you freedom. Like if you were to go ask anyone who starts in the sales game, so what's your motivation? Why do you want to do it? What are you looking for? Freedom. We all know that. Time, money, freedom, financial freedom, location freedom. But the biggest irony of them all is so many of you just build a new prison. You get financial freedom, but now you don't have emotional freedom because your identity is so tied into this. So that internal freedom, that emotional freedom, guys, that is an inside job. And I believe that starts with learning boundaries, that starts with learning how to say no, that also starts with learning how to say yes to God and say yes to something higher than yourself. Because when you guys can begin to tap into that, I believe that you will find the peace that you're looking for. You'll find the actual freedom. It's when you have the intersection of the skill sets, the finance, spirit, you take all these things together and your life will genuinely start to spiral upwards and you'll actually enjoy the process. And I'm really proud to say, not in some bragging way, but I feel peace in my life. I feel a sense of peace, and it's not something that I had the first 4 years of sales. And I believe I attribute that to finding a level of faith in God. I don't really care what that looks like for you, whether religion or formal or not, but genuinely cultivating that relationship And what that looks like for me is I realized that I was so addicted to like my phone and to tech and reactive and just being in this reactive energy. And guys, I've decided that if you are reactive or if you're ever in a rushing energy, it's just so lame. Like that is a losing headspace to be in. Right? So my takeaways for this to be able to help you guys find that peace or find that faith is set yourself up to win in the morning. Read something good. Like this sounds so fucking basic, but most of you, like if you're like me, you just didn't do it. You just check your damn phone, and in the morning, you have this moment when you wake up and you check your phone right away. You can either do that or go outside, go for a walk, take space away from tech. Because I believe if you guys can take space away from tech intentionally and start to do it on a recurring basis, then you're actually going to connect to that thing that's higher than yourself. It's going to give you the peace, the grounding, everything that you want, so that when you're on your sales calls, you can also show up the way you want and perform. And so guys, I'm really stoked that you made it to the end. I appreciate you sticking with me here. If you're still here, thank you for supporting me on this. I hope these lessons save you a few years, thousands of dollars. And if anything hit home, drop a comment and let me know what actually hit the hardest, right? What stood out for you? And subscribe, and comment, guys. And really want to support you guys to continue to grow and evolve. We know one last thing, that the real breakthrough here isn't in doing more, it's in becoming more. It's in that increase and in that multiplication. So that's it for this one, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort, stacking penny stocks.